Hej, witajcie ludzie z odległych galaktyk na kanale Elvizja. Ja jestem Ela, a to jest kanał poświęcony animacjom i kreskówkom. Ostatnio dzięki uprzejmości Cartoon Network Polska oraz Warner Bros. Miałam znowu niesamowitą przyjemność i okazję przeprowadzić wywiad z kolejnym twórcą animacji. Tym razem z Simonem J. Smithem. Co prawda było to w ramach trzeciego sezonu BATWHEELS, ale uważam, że wywiad był na tyle ciekawy, że warto się z wami nim podzielić. Ale z kronikarskiego obowiązku muszę wam powiedzieć, czym jest BATWHEELS. A więc seria BATWHEELS to seria dla najmłodszych, takie połączenie filmu auta Pixara z Batmanem. Dosłownie. To animowana seria, w której Batmobile, czy jak go przezywają BAM, został ożywiony przez komputer Batmana, razem z innymi pojazdami walczą z przestępczością w Gotham City. I o ile seria BATWHEELS może was nie zainteresować, nie z powodu tego, że jest zła czy coś, tylko z powodu grupy wiekowej. Chociaż nie wiem, może oglądaliście ten serial i uważacie, że jest super i każdy powinien go obejrzeć. Dajcie znać w komentarzach. To mimo, że BATWHEELS możecie nie znać albo nie chcieć tego oglądać, tak wywiad z tym weteranem animacji musicie usłyszeć. Simon J. Smith pracuje w animacji, telewizji i postprodukcji ponad 32 lata. I coś super ważnego dla mnie, gościu jest praktycznie pionierem i ojcem previzu. Previs to taki dział animacji przed produkcją, gdzie storyboarduje się w 3D, tworzy animatiki, ustawia scenę, ustawia światła, ustawia kamery i początkowy ruch postaci. Jest to bardzo ważne stanowisko w animacji, bo pozwala na przygotowanie i przetestowanie, sprawdzenie, czy wszystko działa, zanim animatorzy do tego usiądą i zaczną animować. Bo jeżeli podczas animacji okazałoby się, że coś nie działa i jest źle i trzeba to zmienić, to łączy się to z dużą ilością straconego czasu i pieniędzy. Simon został drugim na świecie kierownikiem layoutu w historii kina w 1998 roku. Ale pewnie zastanawiacie się, przy czym pracował. Napisał i wyreżyserował 3 krótkometrażowe filmy. Baymax Dreams, oparty na postaci z Big Hero 6, za co dostał nagrodę Emmy. Shrek Far Far Away Idol i Megamind The Button of Doom. Pracował 19 lat w DreamWorksie, gdzie zajmował totalnie różne stanowiska. Jako reżyser wyreżyserował Pingwiny z Madagaskaru i film o pszczołach, a w layoutie pracował przy Shreku, Shreku 2 i Mrówce Z. A do tego próbował swoich sił w czymś, co nie ma nic wspólnego z filmem czy animacją, ale przy przejażdżce ze Shreka w parku rozrywki Universal. No ale bez zbędnego przedłużania, bo wywiad jest nawet całkiem długi, zapraszam was do wysłuchania tego wywiadu. Lecimy! Hi! How are you?
Hey Al, how's it going?
Good, good. It is very nice to meet you. My name is El, and I'm a host of Polish YouTube channel dedicated to animation and cartoons. And I'm super
Cool.
excited to ask you a few questions today. So
Excellent.
the first one will be regarding the BATWHEELS. So can you tell me a little bit about the journey of the BATWHEELS from its initial concept through pitching to ultimate being greenlit?
Well, I came on with board when it was already greenlit.
Okay.
I know my co-creator or co-exec producer rather, Michael Stern, who's the lead writer, and he sort of created the show. He wrote 4 scripts, and that's what I saw, the 4 scripts, and I loved them because of the tone of them, of the way the writing, because when I joined it was a bridge series, but then they slid it back into preschool, but the writing didn't change, which was great. And Michael did a brilliant job of not talking down to the kids and the audience, you know, the 5-year-olds, and also making it more accessible and more palatable for parents to watch, because they weren't just going out of their minds with really mind-numbing things. And so that's what attracted me to the project, was Michael's 4 scripts, because he didn't talk down to the audience. And what we did was, there's this sort of philosophy of Gotham, and I continued to extrapolate from the writing into the design and the feel of the show and the execution of the show. It's a legitimate Batman and a legitimate Gotham. So even in BATWHEELS, Batman's parents could have been shot outside the cinema with the slow motion pearls and everything, but we just don't say it. The Joker's father could have put a knife in his mouth or whatever, but we just don't say it. So we sort of don't reveal any of the dark side of Batman or the supervillains, and we just keep everything at a school playground level. And so that's why it feels so legitimate, because we're not Batman's not talking down to the Bat crew, or Bab's not talking down to anybody in particular. So that's the sort of philosophy about it, is not talking down to the audience and letting the sort of life lessons come through experiences that the kids can relate to and the parents can relate to.
That is very good. I love that idea to not talking down to kids because they get a lot of things and
Oh, they
it's
get
very
it.
nice.
They get it all. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
they quite mature, like maybe not mature in a sense that they old enough, but they clever. They know what's going on.
Yeah, they pick up the social cues and the vibes. They
Yes.
understand.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, given the original Batman comic it can be very dark and intense, so you adapted the character in a way that they are less dark in a sense, but does that change their characters or it's still the same Batman, the same Joker?
No, it's still the same Batman. I mean, we've had feedback from people saying the very thing that you're saying, which is it feels like Batman. I mean, Ethan Hawke is our Batman. He's so good. And he loved the writing, actually. That's part of the reason why he signed on, was because of the writing of Michael and his team. The same reason I did. And he really loved the writing, and he really loved what we knew exactly what we wanted. And he really lent into giving us a really great Batman that feels a legit Batman. And so he feels just as good as any other Batman. So if anything, he's simpler. He
Yeah.
doesn't have a lot of baggage, he reveals. So it's kind of fun. We kind of get to play with the fun side of Batman all the time.
That's great. But Batman is a iconic and widely loved franchise with many different interpretations over the years. What
Sure.
inspired the decision to focus the series on a cars rather than a human?
Well, I think, I don't know what the main decision was because it was before my time, but I think Warner Brothers and DC wanted to introduce Batman earlier.
Mhm.
And so if it was just going to be humans, then you'd have to deal with a lot of what we called above ground Gotham, where you have the politics, the alter egos, and stuff like that, where it gets very complex in terms of pure characters. And it also isn't as cool to give sort of life lessons to kids. And so the decision to use the vehicles, because it's such a cool selection of vehicles, and a new one like Buff, who's a brand new Batman vehicle, was a really clever choice, I think, before my time, because it gives you access to Gotham and Batman, and also you can pitch the vehicles as younger, and they're using they're basically born in season one, created. And so then they're going through the same lessons that the audience is going through, and that's something the kids can relate to. So I think it was a really clever choice to base it on the vehicles. And also, we wanted to have kids play with the toys if they come out of the series and things like that. And so if there is merchandise and things, it's a natural thing to play with vehicles. And we have lots of really cool female and male vehicles and a very diverse cast. And that's another thing we wanted to try and do, is make it as diverse as possible. And so that became more organic. As soon as you start going, well, hold on, if the vehicles are the kids learning those lessons we want our children to learn, that feels a lot more organic than making kid versions of the older versions of the humans. So I think that's what everybody was thinking.
That makes sense. But was it challenging for you to transit from working on a films that are aimed to slightly older audience to creating content for the preschool viewers? How the process
Uh,
was different?
yeah, I mean, I think what I tried to do is, I mean, what I wanted to do is sort of blow the preschool space open in terms of execution. I feel the cinematography and the editing as Batwheels is the same as it is in a movie. The philosophy behind it was take Fast and Furious and Batman and smash them together,
Nice.
and that's what you get. That was the idea of Batwheels. The challenge for me going from a movie to episodes was making sure that we kept the same quality over 120 episodes now of 11 minutes, which is like 14 movies worth in 6 years. So that's a lot. There's a lot of stuff. It's maintaining the quality, and everybody did a brilliant job of maintaining the quality of the execution, and at the same time, really lean into the tricky situation of it's not just a car's world. I mean, Batwheels is a really tricky thing to do. Take the Dark Knight and make it palatable for 5-year-olds, and parents can leave their kids watching it and feel safe. And then design the vehicles where they're not only a really cool vehicle for Batman to get into and drive around and be cool, but then hop out and then turn into a lovable character you want to be with. That's pretty tricky. And so that was one of the major challenges of the show, which I had a few ideas of how we should do it. Like one of the main ideas behind the vehicles was from the front, they look very appealing as a car, but also as a character. But from the back, it looks kick-ass. So I had an idea of putting a bat symbol on the back of every vehicle. There's a bat symbol with a real tail light. The brake light is a bat symbol because I want it to be really cool from the back, because then you don't have to worry about that turning into a character. So that's the idea. That was a major challenges for me, and that to bridge those two worlds, a really cool vehicle for Batman and a lovable character at the same time.
Yeah, understandable. And that, Ton, what are the 3 things of working on a preschool show that you particularly enjoy?
I think with this show, Batwheels, I think what's lovely is we're working with this amazing property where there's so much coolness that comes with it, and so we don't have to try and be cool. And that's, if you're working on other projects, you want people to be attracted to it as much as possible, whether it's the cool factor or the comedy factor or the dramatic factor.
Yeah.
And this has been brilliant because you're working in Gotham, you're playing in Gotham, and you're playing with all these amazing characters: Batman, Robin, Clayface. I mean, this season 3 has got this crazy list of stuff. Can I talk about season 3? Can I mention season 3?
I'm not sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, we got Zatanna, who's a magical superhero in the DC universe. She's in an episode. She's super cool. We've got Croc, which is our version of Killer Croc. Obviously, you can't be Killer Croc. But we have Croc, who's incredibly vain crocodile from the bayou, from Louisiana, who's hilarious. We also have Alfred, our first human from the above world to come down from Wayne Manor to help Mo out in a big predicament. He's really awesome. He's played by Alfred Molina. He's a fantastic actor. Aquaman's in there. Bane Buggy is back. Clayface is back with Chad Kroger, who's the lead singer of Nickelback, voices him. And Chad is also voicing the Flash, who makes an appearance in one episode. Two-Face. We have our own version of Two-Face, who's hilarious and excellent. And we have Scarecrow, that is a really fun, spooky camping episode. And then we have a double episode called Calling All Batwheels. And we introduce a new Batmobile, Babs, who's the original Batmobile from the 1940s, the number 5 from DC Comics, with a shield face on the front. She is brought alive by Mo to come and help save Gotham with the other 3 Batmobiles. So we have Babs, then the Adam West Batmobile Adam from the 66 episodes. We have the Tumbler, and we have Bam, and they all work together on this double episode, which is awesome. And then, we have Clock King. Clock King's fantastic. We have a Clock King episode where he has this device, which I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's really funny. He does something to Batgirl and Robin, which is hilarious, and the Batwheels have to deal with it. So there's some really fun things. So as you can see, with all these characters and villains, one of the amazing things for me working on the show is you don't have to try to be cool. You can focus on the other stuff, which is the fun, the legitimacy, the lessons and sort of the organic nature of the writing, which is really fun to play with.
Did you anticipate that the series would be such a success and continue for 3 seasons and probably even more?
Yeah, we're working on a season 4, which is killer. It's a really fun idea that actually the president of animation, Sam Register, came up with the idea, and it's really amazing. And so that's super exciting for the season 4 episodes. But you always hope that people like it. I mean, the thing you have to do is you can't try and please the audience. You have to just please yourself. So that's what I did. Somebody gave me a lot of money to play around in Gotham. It was really fun. So I mean, that's the best thing you can do, is make yourself entertained. And I mean, I think with these kind of things, whether it's a movie or a show, you can always tell how people enjoyed working on the show or not. And my philosophy is, if you don't put any love into the screen, you're not getting any love out. And I think you can tell with season 3, people really enjoyed working on it. And Icon Creative Studios, who did season 3 for us, did an amazing job and really upped the level of the went up a notch. It really went up a notch. It was fantastic, the quality of the show. I couldn't be happier with the results. So yeah, it's really fun, really fun.
Well, there's hoping for even more seasons.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed. Well, I have a question that is more private, let's say, because you basically pioneered previous. And I just wanted to ask, how did that come about? Was it like a graduate, something that you thought that you need in a space, in an industry, or it was like a middle of the night idea?
No, it's basically what happened was, I mean, the first person to do layout in CG was Craig Good at Pixar. So the first CG movie was Toy Story, and then the second one was Ants, which is what I worked on. And I was directing commercials in London at the time, and I've always wanted to work on movies. I've loved movies since I was 7, and I was working at a really great studio called The Mill in London, and I took my showreel over to SIGGRAPH, the big conference, thinking somebody might be interested. And I got 6 job offers, but they were all FX supervisor job offers. And I didn't want to be at the end of the decision-making process. I wanted to learn more about working with writers, working with producers, and working at the beginning part, storyboard artists, learning how that process goes. Because I was only used to doing like 30 to 60 seconds. So I picked this position called head of layout or cameraman stroke cinematographer, or whatever you want to call it, because you work with all the departments. I wanted to be in the mix. And I'd done a lot of previews from like 1990 onwards for big commercials. And so PDI DreamWorks saw my reel and went, oh my God, that's the guy, because they didn't know how to go from the storyboards to 60 animators, and they're trying to figure it out. And they saw my showreel that I'd done a lot of that. And so it's like literally the perfect fit. So they came over to London to meet me, and I was kind of getting ready for a big negotiation. And they said, we really want you to come and help us work on the second ever CG movie called Ants. And I said, well, I'm only coming if I'm head of layout, because it's a terrible name, really, but it's from the old 2D days of laying things out on a table with a rostrum camera. But really, you're the cameraman and choreography and part cinematographer, where you work with the lighting. And I thought I'd be in the mix because I was an editor before I was an animator. And so they said, we really need a head of layout. I said, oh, okay. And so then they flew me over, and I met with the directors and the producers, and I had a philosophy about dirty curves. You move the camera in the computer with curves. And I said, look, in real life, there's a cameraman with wheels, and then there's a dolly grip pushing it. So those should never be in sync, because there's a lot of target tracking cameras at that point, late 90s, sort of like time. And then that means everything's moving at the same time. And that just doesn't happen in real life. Everybody's slightly off. So I sort of pitched this idea of having always the feeling that someone is behind the camera reacting to what they're looking at, and reacting to what the dolly grip is doing. if it's movie. And so they bought into that idea, and that's the idea I brought to Ants. And then I set up the DreamWorks layout part of the pipeline that's sort of existed and kept going today. So that's the philosophy behind it. That's how I started it.
Well, the last question is, what would you say to an inspiring animator or artist considering today's world? And I myself, I'm a graduate from animation degree, and currently
Oh, cool.
situation is overwhelming, let's say, let's put it that way. So what would be your advice or like word of encouragement to people that want to break in?
Well, I think if you're passionate, don't give up. Just don't give up. And I think now you have this platform called YouTube,
Yeah.
and you have free software and everything. Just start making your own stuff. Make it. I never did. I didn't have the confidence at the time, and there wasn't the ability. I mean, you had to have a whole freaking studio to do anything. When I started on a Symbolics in '87. I started animating in '87, and Symbolics were used on the very first Tron in '82. So it was pretty difficult to animate your own stuff. You could do, stuff at night when you weren't working, but it took so long to do stuff, you couldn't do it. But now you have stuff like Blender, which is incredible, and you have YouTube, which is a platform, and there's other platforms. Is do your own stuff, get your name out there, get people to notice it, and just keep going. Because eventually somebody will have something, the timing, it's all down to timing, right?
Mhm.
The need will line up with your want, and all of a sudden there'll be a synchronicity. Like it happened to me when I took my showreel over and passed it around. You just got to keep going, and the more you do, the more you learn, the more better you get. So you learn from every project. I've learned from every single project I've ever done, and it's set me up to be better at the next job. I mean, I feel like I'm still learning. I mean, every time I finish something, I think, well, I'm just getting started. What's next? You know? And so I think you just got to keep doing as much as possible for yourself. Just satisfy yourself. Think of something which is cool and what you'd like to see, and just go for it. But that's what I'd say. Just go for it. Never give up.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. It was very nice to talk to you. And yeah, that's all of my question.
Well, it's lovely to meet you, and I love your goggles.
It was nice to meet you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
I to by było na tyle w tym odcinku. Mam nadzieję, że postać Simona J. Smitha Was zainteresowała i ten wywiad był dla Was interesujący. Jeszcze raz dziękuję bardzo za tą możliwość Cartoon Network Polska i Warner Bros. Tymczasem z tej strony dziękuję również moim patronom, którzy nieustannie mnie wspierają, za co bardzo Wam dziękuję. Jeśli też chcecie być moimi patronami, to wiecie co robić. Wszystkie linki znajdziecie w opisie, jak znajdziecie też tam linki do materiałów źródłowych wykorzystywanych w odcinkach oraz linki na moje social media, na które Was koniecznie zapraszam. Nie będę ich tutaj wszystkich wymieniać, bo wiecie jak to działa. Ale zachęcam Was do subskrypcji tego kanału, jeśli takie treści Wam odpowiadają i żeby nic w świecie animacji nigdy Was nie ominęło i żebyśmy dobili do tylu subskrypcji, ile chcę w tym roku. Dobra? Proszę, pomóżcie mi dobić do tej konkretnej liczby, którą mam w głowie. Ale nie będę jej tutaj mówić, bo nie chcę zapeszać. Niech Kreskus z Bóg Kreskówek ma Was zawsze w opiece. Dziękuję Wam za oglądanie i zapraszam Was po więcej. Cześć!